Welcome to the Friendly Frequencies podcast. I am your host, Carmen McLeod, and I am here to talk to you about my passion for spirituality and personal development. My purpose in life at this time is to remind you how powerful you truly are and that you create your own reality. If the mind, the soul, and the universe are topics that interest you, and you want to continue to evolve into your soul's purpose, then you are in the right place. Thank you for joining me as I travel the world and record my journey through self-discovery. Hello. Carmen here. I am going to give you a little bit of a plot twist as I start this episode. I know that a lot of you are expecting me to be coming to you live from the Philippines, and I was expecting that as well. But something went wrong at the airport yesterday, and I did not get on my flight. So everything's good now. It's all been figured out, and I'm going tomorrow now. And I learned some lessons and made some mistakes, and I'm going to talk to you about what happened and how I'm learning from it. And also, the moral of the story for me is everything happens for a reason. And though I don't know what that reason is yet, because it just happened and I don't know how it's going to unfold, I already know that getting on that flight was not meant for me at this time. I just strongly feel that I was saved from whatever was to happen, and it doesn't have to be anything extreme like a plane crash. That's the first thing that people have been saying to me is, what if there's a plane crash or something? Like, yeah, okay, no, it's probably not that, but who knows what could have happened if I had made it on there, right? Everything could have been different. So essentially what happened is I didn't know that, and this is 100% my fault. Everything that happened was my fault. Some people may blame other factors when things like this happen, but I feel like at the end of the day, it's my flight. I had responsibility to know everything, and I just kind of know that I should have known better before going on this flight. I didn't know that I needed either a COVID test or a booster shot. So if you don't have your booster shot, you need a COVID test. I have my full vaccinations, but I don't have the booster shot. So I'm looking back and I'm like, why would I not have checked? See, I think I was feeling a little bit too confident because I was just traveling for, 4 months, and I only spent a month here. I'm like, so I guess I just figured everything would be the same, and it's not. It's different now. And yeah, so I screwed that up. I also didn't leave enough time for myself at the airport, which I usually do. My mom has always been one to get us to things hours and hours early, and I kind of do that as well now because I know it's so beneficial. But I left something at home and we went back and got it, and everything would have been fine. I still was there 2 hours before my flight left, but you have to have everything figured out before the 1 hour mark. You have to be checked in. Otherwise you'd have to be checked in and everything at least an hour before. So this whole process took a while, and I was running around the airport, and just a bunch of things were going wrong where it took me a while to even find the place where I check in and do that, and then the machines weren't working. So a lot of things were kind of not working in my favor from the get-go. And at that point I still had about, half an hour to figure it out. And then I was talking to the worker, who was really, really sweet, and she had an adorable Canadian accent, which made me feel much better. She was great, and she tried her best to, find out for sure what it is that we could do, what are my options. And she sent me down the way to go get a COVID test in the building. And she said, I'm not sure if it's open, but go check. And so I had to run down there with my backpack that weighs 1,000,000 pounds and everything, all my stuff. And I see that it's closed. There's no one working there. So I ran back to her, and she tells me, oh, and then another person said, no, actually it's upstairs, you have to go to a different spot. So I ran upstairs, and I literally missed it by 1 minute. I mean, I actually got there at 6:59 and it was supposed to close at 7 and they closed it early. But either way, I wouldn't have made it. So that seemed like really divine timing to me, and I'm going to look at it as divine timing. Like, some people would say that that's terrible timing and like be so, like, in the moment I was choked, obviously, because I was like, okay, well, that's my last chance to get on this flight and now it's gone. So, and I had no idea what that meant. Like, that was this was probably one of the most stressed out I've ever been, because it's a really expensive flight and I was not sure if I would ever be able to change it or to get my money back or anything. So I was really stressed out and trying not to like cry and freak out in front of everybody, while also having to literally run around the airport and deal with everything, like try to get at least everything figured out before that hour mark. So I think, because I talked to the ladies and they said, if you just try and figure it out right now, because, maybe if you haven't checked in yet, they'll hold the spot, whatever. So I was trying to figure it out before the 1 hour mark, but did not by a long shot. I ended up having to go to the other side of the airport and get a hold of, the Aeroplan people and whatever. That ended up taking me a long time, like an hour or two, going back and forth between the phone line and the workers there, because the workers couldn't help me because they're not Aeroplan, and like Aeroplan wasn't answering because they were closed, and all of this stuff was just, it was horrible. Definitely like the most stressed out I've been in a very, very long time. But the whole time I just knew that this was meant to happen, and that everything happens for a reason. Like I've said before, I always think that everything happens for a reason. So even in the midst of all of this chaos, and while I'm still fighting back tears and a full-on freak out session in front of everybody, I still had in the back of my mind and continued to remind myself, as difficult as it was at this moment, I still reminded myself that this was meant to be. Like, everything happens for a reason. This is all happening according to plan. Don't worry about it. Of course I was worried, because even if it was meant to be, like, regardless, if it's meant to be, I know it's meant to be, but if I don't get paid back, like, that still really sucks. And that may have been part of the process, but damn, like, that still sucks regardless of what the outcome will be of it. So, but I continued to just continue to like hold myself in that vibration of, this was meant to be, everything's fine, everything's going to work out in my favor, because it always does. And I am really proud of myself for keeping that in the back of my mind the whole time. And I'm sure it really helped when, everything kind of continued to unfold. That was, I'd say, so I didn't get an answer for anything last night. This was all last night. I had to go home because Aeroplan was closed, and so I was told by a worker that I should be able to there's a chance I can still get refunded for the flight because of whatever, all these different factors. And so I was still hopeful, and I definitely wanted to make sure I was in, as much as I was still, like, obviously I was bawling my eyes out on the way home and, crying in my mom's arms and all of that, but like at the same, just because of how stressful it was and how, of course it was so disappointing, right? Thinking that you're about to go on a flight, and I love to fly too, so I was like really disappointed I didn't get to go on the flight, and just not knowing. But it was more so just the disappointment and the fact that I had just like said all of this, these emotional goodbyes that same day, and to now be coming back home is just like, I was like, what the hell, like, how can this be happening? But even in the midst of that, I just wanted to make sure I kept my vibration high, and I did not want, because I know how easily it is to snowball when you're in these vibrations, good or bad. So when you are in these vibrations of, why does this kind of thing always happen to me? What the hell? This is horrible. Just all those that are completely valid and that most people and that most people would think in this kind of situation, because that's like, I missed my flight. It's horrible, right? It's devastating. But where was I going with that? But to hold so if I was to let that vibration take over me, though it would be valid and normal, I know for a fact that that would just snowball and more things would just keep going wrong. And just who knows what would have happened. Maybe I wouldn't have got reimbursed. Yeah, spoiler alert. I did get reimbursed. Everything's okay now. Thank God. But who knows what would have happened if I had kept that vibration and let it really affect me. I, like, literally, you'll probably think this is funny. On the way home, of course, like, after I got all my crying out, my mom and I are talking about it, and I knew she'd be the perfect person to see when I'm in that state, because she's always says the right thing and has the most amazing, like, wisdom and advice or whatever it is that she says. She can always make me feel better and just bring, like, a lot of more clarity to my situation. And whatever it was that we were just talking about it, kind of talking about what I'm talking about right now, about how, imagine if I had gone on and, like, what would have happened that clearly wasn't what was meant for me. So we were just talking about how everything happens for a reason, and that I'm going to learn lessons from this, and it's all going to work out in my favor in the end, that kind of thing. But the funny part is, like, at one point her and I were screaming, like, woo, woo. I'm going to move away from the mic while I do this, but we're like, whoa, whoa, like, literally, like, wooing in the car, yelling, out of excitement of, like, and I was like, thanks God, thanks for saving me from that plane, like, thank you for taking me out of that situation of whatever was going to happen. Clearly it wasn't meant for me. I was literally, like, thanking God for what just happened. We were, like, wooing, and that was just so hilarious and so powerful, and it just shows that's just the kind of people that we are. I don't know, like, I am not gonna let something like this, I don't know, change the vibe as much as it totally did. And I was literally, I don't know, I couldn't even believe what had happened the whole night. I was kind of, like, in shock still. And even this morning I was confused when I woke up, like, what the heck, I'm not on a plane. But I did not let the vibration of knowing that this is going to work out leave, and I just knew it was going to work out. I knew everything was going to work out. That's all I knew. I didn't know how or what was going to happen, but I just trusted. I've had full trust in the whole process of this. So, and for good reason, because look at that. Everything worked out perfectly. All the stress is over. I just finished everything I needed to do in preparation. And hopefully that's it. Like, I think I was thorough enough this time. So also, sidebar, another funny part about this story is that this is not the first flight I have missed. You think that I would have learned my lesson the first time. My mom and I actually missed a flight about, it was 2018. We were flying from Orlando to Brazil. We were supposed to fly from Orlando to Brazil, and we missed the flight because we were watching Jimmy Fallon, that show, Elle, on Jimmy Fallon, where he dresses up as a girl. And yeah, we were watching that for, like, forever, for hours, and we had missed our flight because we didn't even realize that the flight was moved to a different gate. And we just sat there at the gate we thought it was at, watching this show. And yeah, and then we learned a million other lessons with that situation. We never had visas and lost a shit ton of money, and like, that was also quite traumatizing. I'll never forget how that ended up happening. But even in that situation, I also remember that, after we kind of got the tears out of, like, oh wow, okay, our trip is cut short and things, that situation turned out a lot, okay, quote unquote worse than this one, because that one actually we didn't even get to go to Brazil in the end, so, like, half our trip was taken away. However, her and I both, we both had this mindset at that point too, where we were like, clearly we weren't meant to go to Brazil. And we had some people warn us against going there, as